This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute. I don't favor gain-of-function research in China. You are saying things that are not correct.
Okay, remember that was Dr. Fauci denying that he approved gain-of-function research in China. This is manipulating viruses to make them more infectious. But what Dr. Fauci is not saying, is not telling you, is that 10 years ago, Dr. Fauci co-authored a Washington Post opinion piece in 2011 that called for creating a, quote, laboratory virus that does not exist in nature, and, quote, generating a potentially dangerous virus in the laboratory so as to get more vaccines made. Let's welcome to the show Ohio Congressman. He is a member of House Financial Services. He's Congressman Martin Davidson. So we're continuing to see more information surfacing here. What's your reaction to this?
Look, Dr. Fauci has lost credibility. I mean, to say that that was an equivocation, we'll see where it goes. But, clearly he supported it. There might be some technical difference in terms of when and how specifically gain-of-function was funded. But Dr. Fauci's been in his role since 1984. Which is a pretty fitting reference to, some of the crazy stuff that he's advocated. He's been on all sides of virtually every issue, and it's time for him to go. He needs to be fired.
We hear what you're saying. It's tough words. We understand where you're coming from. We hear you. Scientists still have not discovered any viruses in nature that look like the so-called evolutionary intermediate steps. I don't want to get wonky here, but they haven't found the intermediate viruses on the way to SARS-CoV-19. SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. They still can't find COVID-19 corollaries in nature. And the NIH did fund a project at China's Wuhan lab. Fauci says it wasn't meant to create new superviruses, but Congressman Guy Reschenthaler says his information, more than $1 million went to Wuhan, about double what's been reported going there via Echo Health Alliance. So there's a lot of details that we're not hearing from Dr. Fauci in testimony.
Yeah, this is exactly it. This is why I say, it's equivocation at best. And look, kudos to Senator Tom Cotton, who last January was calling out, 4 plausible theories. And the most likely one was that it did originate in Wuhan, and it was a laboratory system that got out of control. And that's what all the data looks like, and it's what it looks like to everyone who's objective. Unfortunately, that does not include the World Health Organization. So we have some systemic problems. And frankly, that's exactly what President Eisenhower cautioned in his farewell address. Everyone's familiar with his caution on the military-industrial complex, but he also cautioned against the scientific technical elite basically putting their own interests and the truth ahead of the national interest. And I really fear that that's what Dr. Fauci has done for this past year and frankly for a long career.
So Dr. Fauci supported creating in the lab superviruses so as to get vaccines. This is after the SARS virus broke out of a lab in the early 2000s. The smallpox virus and SARS have repeatedly broken loose out of laboratories by accident. So there's that going on. And Congressman, I want you to respond to this. Dr. Fauci's NIAID told the Wall Street Journal that it's impossible to account for all of Wuhan Lab's activities or how China spends U.S. money on this. So he's denying it in testimony, but then telling the media, like the Wall Street Journal, saying, well, we can't account for how China spends U.S. dollars. What do you say to that?
It sounds like somebody who doesn't want accountability. And look, there are possible classified programs that would go on that no one would want to acknowledge to give the benefit of the doubt. That's a possibility. I don't have personal information on that. But you look at his role and how long he's been in that role. Part of the reason that, I think he deserves early dismissal is because of his lack of preparation. He's pushed all these things for all this time. He's been in the role to make a difference. And the difference he's made is to be unprepared, to be inconsistent, and frankly, to be incomprehensible to lots of the country. And when you look at his exchange with Senator Paul, not just this one, but in an ongoing dialogue with Senator Paul. Frankly, he's been wrong on everything that he said with Senator Paul in testimony. Senator Paul's put him to the test, and every time he comes out wrong. Just like this week, the day before the CDC corrected him and went public saying, no, if you've been vaccinated, you should act like it.
You know, he went on a morning talk show and said, I'm wearing masks inside. You know, the science doesn't require that, but I'm just doing that. But then he testified that's not political theater. He said at the beginning of the pandemic, don't wear masks. But behind the scenes, he was saying, we want to save masks. I said that to conserve mask PPE for hospital workers. He said that you get herd immunity at around 65%. Then he said when the public perception changed, he tweaked it to 85%. So you see the shifting goalposts here. Your final word on this, where does this end up?
He's just not a truthful person, and I don't know how you could have a doctor you don't trust. I think the American people need to talk to their own doctors, and I do think that the American people need to get Dr. Fauci off the payroll.
All right, Congressman Warren Davidson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.